All right, we're back. Welcome to Metal Detect in Colonial, Florida, under the coil. I've been hunting St. Augustine, Florida, and Northeast Florida's beaches for about 35 years. And over those years, I've recovered quite a few Spanish colonial artifacts, Revolutionary War, and up into the Second Spanish period, 1830s, as well as Civil War period artifacts. Today, I'd like to share with you some of the blades, some of the knife blades, and some of the sword-related artifacts that I've recovered here. So we'll go ahead and dive right in. These right here are called scabbard tips, and they would have finished off the bottom of the leather scabbard. A lot of times the scabbard, the sword holder, would have been made of wood a lot of times, wrapped in leather. Sometimes it was just leather by itself, but these would have finished off the bottom of the scabbard. Sort of like little finishing pieces on the bottom to hold the leather together. Those are two copper scabbard pieces right there. This one right here is a little bit fancier. This is a silver scabbard piece. So this would have likely belonged to an officer or somebody a little bit more higher up. And that's just a little bit fancier silver scabbard piece there to finish off the bottom of the sword hold. This is likely to a small dagger or something similar, but this is a small silver fragment of a silver scabbard piece, just the scabbard tip, the finishing piece at the bottom of the scabbards. So those are four scabbard pieces right there, scabbard tips, and they would have finished off again, the bottom of the scabbard. Right here we have, these are called belt frogs, or sword hangs. These are likely Revolutionary War period, maybe just a little bit before the Revolutionary War period. These would have likely been British made, one slightly bigger than the other, but they would have suspended these rivets. You see the rivets on this one's got the back plate on the rivets still, but these rivets right here would have went through a leather belt and sort of sat up like this right here, and then the sword would have hung off the side of it right there. And so these were used to suspend the sword on the side of a soldier's belt, and they're called belt frogs or sword hangs. This right here is the loop, one of the loops that would have actually, like I just showed you, went over the belt frog or the sword hang, and it would have likely this piece is the top post, whereas this is the scabbard bottom, the scabbard tip right here. This would have been, this brass loop would have been to the top of the scabbard. It would have likely, this design would have likely had a wooden scabbard where the swords went down inside. You can see it's got one hole. You can see the hole right there on one side. This loop right here would have went through this, would have had a screw that went through holding this to the side right there, and then would have suspended off of the belt frog like that, or the sword hang. So this is the top ring to a scabbard, to a colonial soldier scabbard, and then this would have been the loop that sat on the side of the scabbard, kind of like that right there, and then they would have hung off of the belt frog. So those are scabbard top piece to a scabbard, the loop, the belt frogs, and then the scabbard tips right here. This right here is a pommel, likely to a dagger or a small sword. It would have been a short sword or a smaller sword, but this is just the pommel piece to one right here, and it's made of brass. That's a sword pommel. Right here we have a Spanish brass sword handle, and this was actually located at the base of a tree, and on the opposite side of the tree I dug up 5 Spanish colonial silver coins, or 5 real, dating between 1556 Philip II Mexico City and 1621 Philip III Mexico City Spanish real. So this was dug up with 5 Spanish real, so likely from the same period, which would have been 1500s, early 1600s period. So that's a very fancy brass sword handle, and it would have been held like so. These scabbard pieces were located along with it, as well as a piece of the basket. These are very fancy little scabbard pieces. These are made of copper, whereas the sword handle is made of brass. And you can see the drag on the end. I was able to get the bottom piece of the scabbard, the copper scabbard. I've got many pieces of it right here, just fragments that I found. One side has the fancy feather design, as you can see there. Hopefully you can see that pretty well. And the other side has a kind of like a floral design. So that would have been the opposite side of the scabbard, somewhere in there, somewhere up in there. But this is the back side of it with the floral design, and one side had Indian feather design. So that's a copper scabbard. These pieces right here, these little loops, almost look like a coin with a hole punched in it. These are brass, and they would have been like the finishing pieces that would have sat above the sword, about right there. I'm not sure if you can see that. So you would have the sword handle. You'd have had the basket or the guard coming off of it, which would have wrapped over the soldier's hand, protecting his hand, and then this top piece would have fit over top of it, sort of holding it all together, clamping it together. And we've covered two of those, and so those are the top plates to a sword, Spanish sword, and then the Spanish sword handle. What we believe these two guys right here are, we believe this is a Spanish sword hang, and it would have went through the belt, maybe through the leather, a leather strap off of the belt, like a leather hole on one side and the other, and then the sword would have just hung off it. So we believe that's a Spanish sword hang. This right here, as you can see, is a copper nail. And what we believe this is a soldier's personal made sword hang. And what it looks like may have happened is they may have lost their belt, their sword hang off of a belt, just pushed the copper nail through the belt so it would kind of go through like this, and then you could have suspended the sword off of it. So we believe what that is a soldier's personal made belt hook. Maybe lost his belt hook, may have got broken, but that's what we believe this is a soldier's made belt hook, a replacement, just made out of a copper nail. A lot of times the soldiers would fabricate pieces and parts in the field if something had broken off. So like if they had lost a belt hook like this, or a sword hook like this, it looks like somebody, some soldier possibly made his own sword hang out of a copper nail. So we believe that's what that is right there. Okay, that's pretty neat. Here we have a couple blade pieces. I did find several pieces of the iron blade that went to the sword handle and to the scabbard pieces that were found together. I have several pieces of the iron sword blade. They're being preserved and treated. I may be able to show those at a later time once I get them coated and preserved, but there was just a few fragments, not the whole blade. But here I have a couple blades that I have found and was able to preserve. These are both iron blades. This is likely some kind of just kitchen knife or utility knife. The iron blade to an old knife. And you can see there. And I've preserved it. And this one here is a little bit thicker construction. Could be a dagger of some kind, but likely again some kind of kitchen knife. And these have both been preserved and dipped, and both made of iron. You can see the holes in this one here, right there, where the handle would have come over it, and the rivets would have went through there. And then we have just an iron handle to likely a kitchen style knife. Looks like it may have had some kind of pattern on there at one time, but that's old and well worn out. So, but again, this has been preserved, so they shouldn't rust any further. They were treated through electrolysis and then dipped, so they should preserve for quite a while. May have to dip them again later, but they should preserve. But just wanted to share a couple of the blades that I've found. Another knife piece right there. I won't get into them, but over here I've got a whole box of folding knives that I've recovered, probably about 20 or more of them there. My main thing was just to share with you some of the sword related pieces that I've found, the sword hangs and things like that. All right, so hope you enjoyed. Have a good night, have a good day wherever you are in the world. Take care. Bye.